Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. This is hashtag Vibes with Blak Merq coming to you all the way from Braamfontein in Johannesburg, South Africa. Today is the 8th of August, 2020. Beautiful Saturday morning. As I mentioned last week, August is a very special month in South Africa where we're celebrating all our women, women who are out there doing the most in their careers, doing the most in terms of expressing their talents, doing the most in terms of, being the mothers, the sisters, the aunties that they are. So, in continuing with the theme of Women's Month, I've got an awesome guest today who I will be introducing you to. Young lady doing really amazing things in the arts space, So we're going to be getting into that conversation with her. Ask her a couple of questions, around what she does, who is she, how does, she intend on inspiring, other young ladies out there, if that is indeed something that she would like to do. And just in general, what does being a woman mean to her and what does Women's Month mean to her? So yeah, August, definitely Women's Month in South Africa. Definitely a month that, us as, the gentlemen look forward to and also appreciating our women out there. So this is definitely what we're going to be doing today. First guest on hashtag Varbs by Blak Merq. So really also looking forward to that. As I mentioned, I will be having guests coming to the studio and, talking about themselves if I'm not doing anything else. And also, what is a Blak Merq podcast, radio podcast without the mix? So you definitely gotta also look out for the mix towards the end of the show. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce the one, the only, Khanya K, at Khanya K on Instagram, at Goranga's Art as well. She'll talk a little bit about that. Please take the floor, Malini.
Hey, thank you for having me. Always such a pleasure to be with you. And so basically, I'm from Joburg and I studied interior design and art. I did in high school. So I would probably say it's more self-taught than anything else. And so it's something that's always just been close to my heart, and your dreams will follow you everywhere you go. So even though I went to varsity and did that, I just couldn't stop thinking about my art career, and eventually I decided to jump back into it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so the rest was history. I eventually decided to leave the whole 9-to-5 thing.
Yes.
And I decided to just follow my passion.
Yeah.
So
just on that, right, before we continue, because I wanted to touch on, the 9-to-5 / corporate life versus, your entertainment, or arts space, right? What did you find that you learned while you were in corporate that has perhaps helped you in, building your brand at all, or in in terms of things like managing time, things like managing email, things like making sure that you deliver things on time, schedules, because those are all the things that we learn when we're in the corporate world, and perhaps we can adapt them into the arts or not. What do you think you learned from that space that you took into what you're doing right now?
Okay, well, first of all, I definitely learned how to work with different personalities, and obviously just like business etiquette. Obviously they don't tell you everything, but you just learn from experience. I think experience is the best teacher. So just the encounters that I've had with clients and the dynamics at work have kind of taught me to set a different precedence for myself in terms of what I want to achieve in my business. And I think that's pretty much most of what I've learned, and also just for myself as well. I think it's a good thing that I went into that space because it made me realize that there's something in me that I'm neglecting.
Absolutely.
It gave me more reasons to actually pursue my dreams more. And be more aggressive about it.
Be more aggressive, absolutely, because I'm also the kind of person who has a background in the corporate world, where having studied a particular diploma and then eventually being involved in the corporate world, what I do, or what I was doing in the corporate world is very technical. working with IT and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But what I learned that I've been able to bring into the entertainment space, me being a DJ and musician and hosting the podcast, is I learned the soft skills and the emotional intelligence, you know?
Yeah.
So like when you're in the corporate world, there's a lot of competition out there. There's boardrooms, you have to deliver on your timeline, you know? At the end of every month, you have to submit something that's called a timesheet so that your hours can be allocated correctly. So, you know, when you get your salary, they understand exactly what you did in that month, you know? So I've brought a lot of the soft skills and a lot of the emotional intelligence into what I do now to say, when I book a studio and I need to be there to do a recording, to do a shooting, it has to be done on time, you know? I need to receive the invoice on time so that I can make the payment on time so that when I get there, I don't have any issues. But I also expect the place where I'm going to be to have the right equipment to make sure that the sound is working and not to be lax, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would say that, you know, I brought into you know, the entertainment space from the corporate space.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So in terms of Women's Month, now that it's Women's Month in South Africa, spring is also about to come through, the winter is about to be gone. What does Women's Month mean to you as a young woman, especially in South Africa in 2022?
Wow. Firstly, Women's Month is something so special to me, and that one time in the year that I really look forward to, you know, and I think it's so important to commemorate, especially given the circumstances that we're in right now. And yeah, I think there's quite a lot happening, you know. Some people might feel like there's not really much to celebrate
because of the times that we're living in currently.
So it's very heartfelt. I would say it's bittersweet, because, you know, as much as we're out here trying our best to be the change we want to see, every day there's a new face to femicide. So it's quite emotional as well, and it's very triggering as well, you know. And I just hope that everything that we're doing right now is not going to end with August. I hope it won't just be like, you know, a Women's Month special. That will be a conversation that we'll continue to have. So for me, it means quite a lot of things, you know. But in the nutshell, that's how I feel about it, and I always try and see what I can do in my own capacity to be the change I want to see with the gifts I believe God has imparted onto me.
Absolutely. And you know, being art being one of them, you know, you being an artist, you being able to paint, you being able to draw, would you say that you have paintings or artworks or just, you know, general creative work that is sort of geared towards appreciating women? Do you find inspiration from being a woman? As you mentioned, there's things like femicide, GBV, topics that have been going on forever, to be quite honest. It's not like, you know, since we've been quarantining, there's, you know, been GBV. It's a problem that has existed, you know, for an entire lifetime.
Centuries.
For centuries.
I mean, we're still fighting human rights that were deprived from before, you know, BC. You know.
Absolutely.
You know, in 2020. I mean, that's just pretty sad. But I think there's a slight change, a slight shift. You know, if we look back at how women used to live in the 60s, some things have been put into place to recognize, you know, their rights. So I think that, you know, some things have changed, but we still have a long way to go. There's still a lot of room for improvement. And you know, more people need to start taking up space in society and actually make an effort, you know, like I always say, to be the change they want to see.
And do you feel like men are doing enough, or do you feel like men aren't doing enough to actually be a part of the conversation of, you know, including women in whether it's vocation A, B, or C, or industry A, B, or C? Do you feel like men are actually adding their voice? Do you feel like it's actually there, or do you feel like guys are absolutely non-existent? Especially because of the fact that GBV is such a huge problem. Do you feel like men are just not doing enough? Like, are we failing our women out there?
I think that, you know, what's happening answers that question.
Okay.
You know, I think it's pretty obvious to see that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, especially from men particularly, because it's not something that we can fight on our own, because we're on the suffering end here. So, you know, I can go and protest, I can go and hashtag as much as I want, but you know, I can't change a man's mindset. He has to decide, you know, to do the right thing. So I think that there's still a lot that needs to change. Everywhere, whether it's at home, in corporate, there's a mindset shift that has to happen.
Absolutely. Okay, so my next question was going to be like, you know, being a woman in the industry that you're in, you know, do you feel like there's enough women, and do you feel like women are accommodated and respected enough and given the space that they need to exist, or do you feel like it's, you know, it continues to be male dominated, regardless of whether you are a woman who's pushing your brand vigorously?
Well, the visual art space, in my experience, and I'll speak for myself because everybody has their own experiences, I do feel like there is a bit of marginalization towards specific people, black people, and women, you know. And so I think that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done there as well. And I see a lot of art, you know, companies trying to change the narrative, because it is a bit of a white-dominated industry.
Okay.
And yes, African, specifically female artists.
Yes.
There is quite a lot that needs to be done to change that. I mean, I was really shocked one time when I engaged in a competition, and I was, I think, 2 out of 9 artists that were selected as female. You know, and it's weird because, I mean, if you're gonna do art about women, I think, you know, no one can tell a woman's story the way she can. So it's very difficult to understand things from a female's perspective if it's being done by a man, you know. So we do definitely need more female artists, especially black.
Yeah. And I suppose that also speaks to the patriarchal society that we exist in, where men feel like they can actually express, you know, women's thoughts or women's feelings better than women can. Which, you know what I mean, when I hear it coming from a woman myself, I think to myself, wow, like really, you know, how is a dude really going to express, you know, what a woman is really feeling or seeing in her mind, you know, from a female perspective, that is. So not to say that it's impossible, or not to say that a woman could express what perhaps a male may be going through, etc., but just to be in that body, you know, as a woman, like, you know, this is what's happening and this is what's happening out there. All right, great. So the next question I have to you is like, if you wanted to inspire a young woman out there, you know, in being that it's, you know, Women's Month, or being that, you know, you're a woman who's building your own sort of footprint, you know, in the world, is it something that you would look into? Is it something that you would use your art to kind of do? Is it something that you're actively doing currently as well? Is it something that you believe in, or how do you view that?
Absolutely. I just believe that our gifts are not given to us to be selfish with them. We're meant to share what we have with other people. And I definitely am part of engaging other artists as well in having that kind of mindset, you know, and helping to build other people as well. Because we all need each other, you know. So I definitely do, whenever I have the opportunity to, at least, I try to make that effort to impart what I have onto someone else. Because that's the only way we're gonna grow as a community. You know, and to also help other people change their way of thinking as well.
Okay, that's great. So I like what you mentioned there, you know, about gifts and talent, right? Because, you know, I also believe that everybody has their own set of gifts and everybody has their own set of talents. But we also live in a kind of society where you're taught from a very young age, especially in the black community, because I'm black, I can only speak from the experience of a black community, where you have to grow up, then you have to have a specific, you know, certain type of corporate job. 9 to 5, you must work for somebody for the rest of your life. When you're 65, you must, you know, cash in on your retirement, and then you must have 2.5 children, and that must be the cycle. You mustn't sort of, we don't encourage the culture of entrepreneurship. We don't encourage the culture of having hybrid careers, you know. you have to just kind of follow the rule, graduate, etc. So in talking about gifts and talents, how were you able to actually unlock your gift and your talent? Because some people may not believe in their own gifts and talents and may even give up on their own gifts and talents because of the fact that we've been taught, well, no, you know what I mean?
I think that for me personally, it was an experience that I had, and I eventually realized that you can study and do all those things, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be successful.
Okay.
And with a lot of people that have followed their passion, you'll see that they're more likely to succeed because they're actually following. They're aligning themselves with their purpose, and if you align yourself with your purpose, there's no way you can go wrong, because everything you need is already there. You just have to make the effort to actually go out there and do it.
Yes.
So for me, I think I decided to follow what I love, because I realized that you only have one life to live, and you really only have one chance to decide whether you're gonna do this or you're not gonna do it.
Yes.
And no one can follow your dreams for you.
Yes.
So I looked around the office one day and I asked myself, do you see the future for yourself here? And the answer was no. Right. And so immediately from that point, I decided that I'm not going to waste another 8 hours of my life doing something that doesn't add value to my purpose. It doesn't make sense.
So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to listen to, perhaps it's a voice, perhaps it's a feeling in your gut, in your stomach.
Well, for me, I would say I felt like it was a communication that I had with God, because I was like, you created me, you gave me this gift, so what must happen? How can I be suffering when you say you are this God who has everything? It doesn't make sense. So I stuck to that promise that he gave me, that I'll look out for you, and he did. I think my life is a testimony of that. I don't have to prove it, but I definitely think our circumstances are different, of course, but always try and make that effort to go after what you want,
to go after your dreams, and and to improve yourself, and also follow your purpose, because as you rightfully say, people who have followed their purposes, people who have followed their gifts and their talents, really become successful. Some people have the weirdest careers. They've been able to monetize something that you would never think that you can monetize, because they're following their purpose and their gift.
It's just a matter of it's a mindset.
It's a mindset. All right. So something else I want to ask about, because a lot of when we are building our own passions, our own dreams, we have to invest in ourselves, because usually most of the time nobody's going to believe in it until you reach a certain point. Then it's going to look like, oh, you made it overnight. Oh, you got it so easy, etc. So when it comes to money and investing in yourself, how do you view that? Because, a lot of people out there have proposals. They want money from A, B, and C, and D, which is also fine. It's okay to have a business plan and, to be like, okay, I need this much, and then I'll promise I will pay it back or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, nobody's going to take you seriously unless you can show something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion on investing in yourself, taking your own money and investing in yourself?
Okay. Well, it is a lot of work, and it's true. People don't believe in you until they actually see something happening. But I think more than anything, believing in yourself surpasses anything that anyone else can possibly give you. Because how you feel about yourself sets the tone for everything else. If you don't believe in your work, then it will show. People will feel that, and so I have come across those kind of individuals, even in the art space. People would tell me that you're not really gonna make it, it's very difficult. And just because something is difficult doesn't mean that it's not possible to do it. You know what I mean? Of course it's gonna be difficult. I don't expect it to be a walk in the park. Absolutely. Or a breeze. So I think for me it is important to invest in yourself. as much as you can, you know, with the resources that you have.
Yeah.
And not to wait for something or someone to bring something to the table, to actually get up and say, let me do this. You know, start with what you have, and eventually, as you go, it will grow. You know.
And you know, there's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. There's going to be a lot of doubt, self-doubt.
Yeah, no.
You know, there's going to be a lot of why aren't these people following me?
Like what's happening?
Awesome. Okay, great. I love that. So I think what I picked up another important word that you mentioned there, which is the word energy. And I'm sensing a lot of positive energy coming from you, a lot of very light-hearted energy. How do you keep yourself positive? How do you keep yourself focused? You also mentioned spirituality, so I believe that must be something that's very important to you.
Yeah, no, definitely. For me, I'm a very prayerful person, so everything that I do, I bring it to God before I bring it to anyone else. You know, so that really keeps me going, and I believe that's what has brought me this far. I don't think in my own capacity, my own thinking, I would have been able to navigate my way around. You know, because it's not easy it's so easy to talk about quitting, and then the day finally comes when you hand in that resignation, and then the reality hits. You know, like, okay, this is it. You know, so I think it was a build-up of events and just encounters that I had, you know, in my prayer life that really helped me to stay, you know, sane, because it's crazy.
True. Do you believe in exercising? Do you believe in eating healthy, keeping a healthy diet? You know, do you believe in, because something that I do is, you know, I run, I exercise to take my mind off things.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good way of, you know, de-stressing. It's important to actually take care of yourself holistically. You know, not just from a spiritual perspective, but also take care of yourself, because you are the person behind your business. You know, without you, there is no business. So, you know, you need to make sure that you prioritize yourself above everything. Because if you get sick right now, something bad happens to you, then everything is going to stop. You know, so definitely exercising, even though, like, you know, I'm gonna be a hypocrite. it's winter, it's been cold. So
I wonder. Summer body.
my body's already a summer body.
Oh, okay, all right. Shout out.
So yeah, definitely eating healthy and taking care of yourself is important. Yes.
Okay, I love that. Okay, we're almost coming to the end of the chat. Really interesting chat. Thank you so much for pulling through today, Kanya. You're awesome. Guys, remember to follow at Kanya_K and at
Courageous_Art.
Alright, on IG, but you know, we will post up and do the mention, so you're definitely gonna check it out. So last week I did a feature where I spoke about 3 very powerful and successful businesswomen in South Africa who happen to be in the arts and entertainment space, right? So we're talking about Basetsana Khumalo, we're talking about Bona Mateba, and we're also talking about, you know, Zintetia, you know, DJ Zintet, right? 3 really, 2 of them are, you know, within our generation, younger, whereas Basetsana Khumalo is more of the, you know, older generation, winning Miss South Africa in '94, for example. But I think she's been a great example for those other 2 women that I mentioned, like perhaps even somebody like yourself. So, do you look up to anybody in the industry, and you know, being able to see what Bonan, DJ Zinze, and Bastan have been able to do with their careers, is would you like to see your life going in that similar type of direction?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're working hard, and you know, why, you know, deny yourself a good life, you know? So I think more than anything, what I really appreciate about what we do is the impact that we have on people's lives, you know, in a positive light. And how they haven't allowed themselves to be confined by, you know, what they know. They're always prepared to learn new things, try new things. And there's a lot of growth every year. You know, Banana is doing something new. You know, she's constantly on a journey to do better. So I think that helps to empower the people around her, even if she's not consciously aware of it. But you know, those are some of the things that I pick up from them. You know.
Yeah. I mean, just to mention a few of the accolades, I love that, you know, you mentioned that they have a positive impact on the people around them, right? So, Basetsana Kumalo, for example, has got a foundation. And, you know, we know that she started out top billing on a shoestring budget in the 90s.
Yeah.
Bonang has, you know, recently started her her MCC, right? Which is basically, if you want to be technical, you can't call it champagne because it's not manufactured in Champagne in France, but it's basically a champagne, her MCC. And she's one of the first women to be a part of the Cape Classique Club. Sorry, I'll fix that. And then DJ Zintle had Fuse Academy, you know, years back, where it was a DJ academy specifically for women.
Yeah.
You know, so, and Bonang is also a global ambassador for what is that big concert that happened in December last year with Beyonce and them? Global Citizen. Yes, she's an ambassador for that. So, you know, it talks back to what you're saying about them, you know, having a positive impact on society as well, not just, you know, worrying about themselves in terms of being businessmen.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, you know, we shouldn't approach our work with a selfish mindset. There's something called, I forgot what it is. It's shared value. Yeah. Yes. You know, doing business with a heart to give back. You know, it's called I don't even remember, but yeah, I mean, making profit with a purpose. Yeah,
yes,
that's what it is.
Purpose. Okay,
so that's what in short, what I see from them, and yeah.
Okay.
You know, and I like how they've changed the game and the narrative around women in business.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, Kanya, thank you so much for pulling through today. I wish you an exceptional Women's Month. You know, I wish you great success. You know, stay blessed. Stay positive, you know what I mean?
And yeah, happy Women's Month tomorrow to all the amazing ladies out there.
You know, and then we get to a Monday also, at least this Monday I was planning. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. So what's gonna come up next is obviously the mix, because you know what is hashtag Varbs by Blak Merq without the mix? So you definitely want to check that out. You know, we got the vision. You know, we got the vision. So we're about to do the mix now. Thank you so much, Kanya. Guys, please follow Kanya K on IG, Corenda's Art on Instagram as well.
And Twitter,
Yeah, and Twitter too. You know what I mean? So we're going to post up all the content in time. But yeah, happy Women's Month. And that's what's up. Guys, that was cool. Hey.